Review. We have 4 processors. The phonological processor deals with the hearing component. Is the system clear? When the child hears s, can they go s? When they hear t, can they go t? If they can, that system's clear. Then they need to be able to blend sounds. If they hear f, at, can they put it together as fat? That's blending. They need to be able to segment. When they hear the word hit, can they go it? That's segmenting. And the last skill is manipulating sounds and words. Everyone, best without the s is what? Bet. Okay, so that is called the phonological processor, works with those skills. Those skills need to be intact, especially segmenting for first grade reading. Okay? Now the orthographic is actually the letters. Okay? So they are, when the kids are seeing letter groups like this, they start remembering the letters and they kick off the sounds, the phonological processor. So once they see the letters, they know that's Ness and that's J. This processor glues letters together so child starts seeing syllables in larger groups. Okay? So sound system. This is the visual system of letters gluing letters together. This is the go processors to unlock reading. If these are not working, we can't unlock their meaning processor and context processor. Okay? Now meaning is vocabulary. Higher socioeconomic kids entering first grade will have anywhere up to 60% more vocabulary than welfare families, and up to 30% more than blue-collar families. Okay? So, based on your kids, if you have a lot of welfare families, you have to spend more work on vocabulary work, more work using the 4-step method. And then the contextual processor is your ability to take what you're reading and from context be able to predict what will happen next, to be able to form a picture, synthesize the information, form a picture, be able to paraphrase or get the main idea. Okay? And this processor needs to be going simultaneous. It's the processor that says, we are working on a, well, would it be project or project? Well, it's project because of the contextual processor. The contextual processor's basic skills are to form movies or picturing, form episodes. Take the information and form those pictures. Then be able to describe or to tell events, which is paraphrasing. And then to be able to predict, and we call that P-cubed. Picture, paraphrase, and predict. Some kids have these processors impaired and these are fine. These are called children with nonverbal learning disorders. They do not have nonverbal information in their processor so that the words make sense. So they have a lot of words, but they don't know what they mean because they don't have the episodes or experiences associated with the words. So they can do fine here, spelling. They can do fine in reading words and math facts, but they have real difficult in the meaning, word problems and meaning. Okay? So 2 totally different problems. Children with dyslexia have problems in these processors. Children with severe comprehension issues or children with nonverbal learning disorders have problems with these processors. Concept 1, consonants, short vowels. Let me first review what the sounds should sound like before we move into the concept. But notice it's not but. We cut off that us sound. Both of these safe. Start over. But. Did. Gig. Jit. Oh. Both of these. S. Notice it's continuing. It's not va.
So hard.
Yit.
That's the one that's a bad one.
Like an X. It's a KS. Zzz. Okay? Okay? So the tough ones here, cut off the It's not a duh, it's a d. And rrr with me. Rrr. Okay. That's a tough one. Yuck is tough. Okay. Concept 1. The first thing we do is check the what? Consonants. What do? Cut off the Many kids have trouble with these letters. L, R, this is ul, r. They have trouble with X, which is x and y. We quickly clean them up. Okay? Then we move to spell and read. We cut off the sounds. Start 1 kids only know some of the consonants and maybe 1 vowel. Your goal with start 1 is to get through the consonants as quick as possible. If possible, in a week. Clean them up, get the vowel, and then make tracking sequences and make spelling words and quickly teach the rest of the vowels so that they can move into the program. Or use the second level of first steps and go through that in a couple weeks and then move into the full program. Okay, as part of concept 1, we teach what a syllable is. A syllable is a tap, like reputation, and it's also a puff of air. Reputation, okay? We also teach the kid what a closed and open syllable is. An open syllable, the vowel can run a long way. He's pretty proud of it. Everyone knows his name. That's his name. And then a closed syllable, it's closed in and can go a short way, has its short sound. We then talk about the short vowels. Okay? Everybody, let's go through these vowels. I, a, ah. Okay? Notice I, ah. Some people like this for ah, which is fine. Ah. These are our short vowels, okay? So we establish these vowels. You only use a key word if needed. But if you have trouble with the sound, you might use it for this, echo for this, axe for this, up for this, or odd for this. Okay? Let's quick review these. Show me the choo-choo team. Silent team. Birthday team. Nasty team. Silent noise. Queen team. Queen. King. Okay. So there's times I will have the kids do the signals, or I'll do the signal. They'll say the sound and point. But I go pretty quickly to spelling and reading. Remember, spelling I say, reading I point. Are you ready? Go ahead and point. Check yours, okay? Good. Shh. Check. Check. By the way, anytime I'm spelling, this checking or roving is what you're going to do with a class. You'll start with checking, and then you're going to go rove and work with kids individually. Are you ready? Check. Quo. Check. Eventually, you don't have to say check. They get in the habit. Now let's read. Everybody? Shh. Next. Look up here. Read. Concept 3, the hungry rule. Let me introduce you to these final spellings. They have a short or smaller version, like f is just an F, and ul is just an L, s is just an S, k at the end is a K, ch at the end is a CH, j at the end is a GE. So they have their smaller versions, don't they? And they have their bigger versions. The double F, double L, double S, C, K, T, C, H, D, G. These are big spellings versus the smaller spellings. Okay? With younger kids, you may want to go ahead and pull out the smaller spellings for each of these. That's up to you. I like to show it this way, the big spelling versus the small. Okay? Now the problem is, when we use these, let me review these spellings with you. Ul, s, k, ch, j. When do we use the bigger piece or the smaller piece? Well, it's pretty easy. It's called the hungry rule. short vowels in one-tap words, one-syllable words, are hungry, and they want the bigger piece, okay? So in this case, this is really, really hungry. So if the word's batch, he's going to take the bigger piece, batch, okay? In the word back, he's really hungry. He's going to take the bigger piece, such as back. In the word bats, really hungry. He's going to take the bigger piece. But when he has friends, he shares and takes the smaller. So if there's any other letter afterwards, he's going to share. He's not going to take the bigger piece because he's going to share. Okay? So in ranch, he uses the smaller piece, like the CH. Now you could just pull this if you want, but you get across the idea of the smaller piece. If the word's rank, like his rank, he'll take the smaller piece and share. Okay? Again, you could use just the K. Okay? Now, if there's a double vowel, okay, like this, which I haven't taught yet, but let's say you have this, and it was roof. Well, again, it's not a short vowel, so it's not hungry. And there's another letter there to share with. So there's two reasons it would take the smaller piece. Again, it only takes the bigger piece when it's a hungry vowel, and hungry vowels are that short vowel by itself with nothing after it. So if you have a one-tap word with a short vowel and there's no other letter to share with, he will take or she will take the bigger piece. Ratch, rack. Concept 4, complex syllables. This is pretty simple. Let's read this with me, everyone. Fit. Let me introduce you to something a little more complex. What would this be?
Fist.
Fist. What would this be?
Fisp.
Fisp. Good. What would this be? Dism.
Ism.
This would be film. Okay? Complex syllables basically are syllables that have blends at the end, and we blend for reading but not for spelling. So that'd be film, but if we're spelling film, we want to go f-it-l-m. Okay? They're complex syllables. Now, the reason I add complex syllables early, complex ends, is so that I can start adding the suffixes. Okay? And we add the suffixes pretty straightforward. Okay? One of the things we want to get across is the suffix ing, which is act of. Okay? So if I'm running, it's the act of being involved in run. If I'm hitting, it's the act of hit. So I will give the quick definition, and these are listed in your notebook. What's ed? 3 sounds. Ed didn't means past tense. So when that's added to the word yesterday I acted, what does that mean? It's the past tense of act. Okay? Yesterday I sell, the past tense of sale. Okay? Less means without. So hitless is without a hit. Okay, bigness, or bigless is without big, there's no such word. Brainless is without a brain. So we add the suffixes. Now generally, I'll introduce a couple the first day with complex. And then I'll do 2 or 3 a day, and I add those 2 or 3 when I am at reading of sounds. As I'm doing this, I'll simply point to a new sound, a new suffix, and say this is what that means. And I add it. Okay? Just very casually. Okay? Plurals. Now, plurals is pretty simple. We teach the fact that you use an S normally for plurals like films. If it's more than one, you add an S. But if it makes another syllable, add an ES. Boxes makes another syllable, it's an ES. Taxes, another syllable, it's an ES. So when you make a plural, it's usually an S, but if it forms another syllable, it's an ES. Concept 5. The bully rule, okay? Vowel suffixes are what? Bullies. And as a bully, what do they want to do to the vowel in front of it? Make it say its name. So it'll hop over and make it say its name, okay? So this would not be hopping, John, what would that be?
That would be hoping.
Okay, John, so how do we protect that?
By adding another P.
Yeah, putting a bodyguard in there, or defender. It's now protected, hopping. Without it, it's not protected. Now, you must protect if it's a one-tap word with a short vowel and a consonant, okay? If you have a double consonant, you don't need protecting, okay? So you had a double consonant here, and you're adding a suffix. You would not need protection because it already has a defender or bodyguard. Okay? Right. We know that this word here is what?
Kin.
Kin. Okay? Something weird happens when we put this here. What is it?
King.
King. Distort the vowels. Okay? And also, L distorts the vowel like all. We call those tall, keen, thick words. Okay? 7. This is a simple syllable. What does that say?
Writ.
Writ. Okay? Let me introduce you to something a little more complex in the front. What would that be?
Frit.
Frit. So we introduce complex fronts. Now, if students do pretty well on blends in their survey, and where to start too, I do both ends and fronts at Concept 4. One of the things you need to work on in this level is TR, trip, because that doesn't sound right. Almost sounds like a CH there. We've got to work in our tracking trip, and we also have to work on drip, okay, which is that DR. Okay? So, in this case, in drin, okay, Concept 7 also deals with C and G. With students that are above 2nd, 3rd grade, you teach this as soon as you need it, so you can teach it before 7 if you need to. These have hard sounds. The hard sound of k, hard tongue hits the what? The hard roof in a hard way. Hard tongue, hard roof, hard way. K and g, hard tongue, hard roof, hard way. It has its sound in front of I, ear, Y. Everybody, what would that say? What would this say? What would this say? Because of the what?
Yeah.
That's called the what drill? Slide drill. Okay? Then this would say get or jit. Get, jit. That is called the slide drill. Okay? Concept 8, vowel tag. So far we've learned one-tap words such as how to read words like champ, hit, etc. I'm going to show you a very simple technique to break bigger words into syllables. It's called the vowel tag. Pretend we're in a race or playing a game. This vowel is going to reach out and tag this consonant. So when we swing, this is going to break this up. It's going to tag it back and it's going to make a separate syllable. The vowel actually reaches out and tags this. What does that say?
Mag.
And what's that say?
Net.
Let's put that together. What is that?
Mag.
This is a quick way to think about breaking down words. Okay? Let's try another one of those. Okay. What is the A going to tag?
S.
S. So when you're swinging under with your pen or pencil, you're able to tag the S and you're going to swing right here. That breaks this up to what? Basque. And what's that?
Cat.
What's the word?
Basket.
Basket. But here we've got an open syllable like may. The vowel can run a long way. Everyone knows its name, may. Then we close it in, the vowel runs a short way. What would that be? Map. And then we have a silent E, has a little magnetic effect, pulls this. This can run a long way, says A, may. We teach that. And then we teach what's called vowel changing. Okay? And in vowel changing, a child would do something like this. This is the word we use to introduce it. Let's tag that. O tags the what?
P.
What's that?
I.
Open. Is that a word?
Yeah.
Then we change it. Open. So I'm having the kids use their contextual processor. When they go open, have you heard that word? No. We're also using that meaning processor, of course. Actually, more than meaning processor, the vocabulary. Because they never heard of open, then they try open. And if that still didn't work, they would try the us sound. Let me give you an example. AGO would be ago. That's not a word. Ago, no, ago. So it goes from short to long to the us sound. That is introduced. And we also then, as part of 9B, we talk about the best and rest. Everyone, let's do the best for I at this point. In an open syllable, you just use a I. If there's a consonant after the I, use an I, consonant E. E is E, E, consonant E. A is A, consonant E. All right? With me, John? U is U, consonant E. O is O, O, consonant E. In a one-tap word, though, this double E doesn't split, does it? So our best bet in a one-tap word is, and actually I usually put this here, is EE, and if that doesn't look right, EA. This is in all positions, by the way. Eek, feed, or tree in one-tap words. EE, doesn't look right, try the EA. That's in one-tap words. Okay. What does re mean, like you redo something? To do it over again, to do it again, to redo it. D means down, like depressed, descend, decline. Pre means before, preschool, okay? Prevent is to kind of take care of something before. Pro means you're kind of for something. It's a very active pro. Or like pro Broncos, you're for a team. So these prefixes are ones that are used pretty frequently. Once I've taught these prefixes, I will often in tracking add these as part of the syllable tracking. And I'll also add suffixes as part of the tracking. So, you know, each lesson I have a tracking sequence for you. Example, one of the tracking sequences may be this: fit, to fent, to fent, to fest, to fesp. You remember that? Well, you can leave that tracking this way. You can get to fesp and say past tense of fesp, and they would add ed, fested. Without a fest, and they would go festless. Before you're without a fest, they would go pre-festless. So you can start working with prefixes and endings as part of your tracking. Okay? Now another part of this is we revisit the bully rule. Remember at Concept 5 we introduced the bully rule. That bullies make the vowel in front of it say its name. Well, we have a problem with the word hope. Would this be hoping if I added this bully suffix? No. This ing makes that E say what? E. So that would be hope E-ing. What's another way to deal with a bully besides a bodyguard or defender? Walk away. Remember that? Now, this bully becomes actually helpful and helps teach this O to say its name. So we learn how to defer a problem, and this individual now becomes helpful. So that's the second way to deal with problems, is walk away. Now, if we had hopeful, Do we have to walk away here? No, absolutely not. Because we have the, it's not a bully, it's a consonant suffix. But when there's a vowel suffix, yesterday he hoped, I gotta walk away or it's hope-ed. Okay, so we revisit this at 9 is the walk away rule. That's called bully rule B. Concept 9D, the back side of the board. Now, in your notebook at 9D, it kind of tells you the order in which to introduce the endings. Okay? These prefixes and roots, the students can read at this point. So I might quickly have the students read the prefixes and roots, the first group, but these endings they can't read because they don't sound like they look, so these have to be taught. So I will first check to find out what the student knows, and if he knows the first group, I immediately add the second group. But I found a lot of the kids I get don't know these. Let's go ahead and read these with me. Tull, dull, ibble, ubble, Asian, shun, sieve, jure. Again with me. Tull, dull, ibble, ubble, Asian, sieve, jure. Now once I've taught them to the kids, I'll say them and they'll echo on point. So I'll go dull and the kid will go dull. Ubble, ubble. Asian, Asian. Jure, jure. Sieve, sieve. And then I'll point and the child will read. Ubble, ibble, tull, jure, sieve. Okay, once I have these down, I then will go into the first groups. And I'll say, Steve, pull out demistal. Demistal. Good. Demissable. Now, it's the same step tracking as the front. Demissable. Dull to ibble. Demissable. Premissable. Premissable. D to pre. Premissable. Premissation. Premissation. Ibble to Asian. Prejectmissation. 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 Projectmissation. Projectmissation. Pre to pro. Projectmissation. That's called spelling the syllables, and then I'll move to reading. Everybody, what would this be?
Projectation.
Good. Going to challenge this group a bit. What would that be?
Projectation. Projectverization.
Concept 10, long E. In long E, we get across the pattern that in an open syllable, like E, even, we use an E. Okay? If there's a consonant after it, like an athlete, we add an E, and N has a tail. EA is the rest. We use our 5 steps as teachers. Step 1, they read 3 words. They then tell us what sound they have in common, and then we notice that there's different patterns for E. And we get across spelling's difficult for long vowels because there's different patterns. Then in step 2, we read the rest of the words together, and the student gives us the patterns, and we always put them in this order. We then go to their spelling notebook, and we spell them, 1-syllable words saying the sounds, 2-syllable words syllables, such as repeat would go under EA. They would copy it this way. They'd look and they'd go repeat each syllable. That's called syllable spelling. Then at step 4, we'd come back and we'd go through each spelling. E is used in what kind of syllable? In even, and repeat, and began. Well, open, isn't it? E consonant E. Well, that's used in a word like compete, where you have a consonant after the E. And if you don't add an E, you don't have compete, John. What do you have?
Compet.
Yeah. And complete, if we don't add an E, what do we have?
Complete.
Complete. So we have to add an E, okay, if there's a consonant after. And John always has what?
Y.
Which has a what?
Tail.
Always has the tail. Tails for our vowels are used reliably. EA is the rest, okay? And then we show that ending vowels either have an upward tail, W, or a downward tail, like a Y, okay? For E, we now have this pattern. E, consonant E, and Y are the best. EA and EE are the rest. One tap word, EE is the best, EA is the rest, okay? Our family, very simple, all say what? Two of them are what?
Teenagers.
They want to do their own sound, okay? This one says what? R. This says or, okay? There is a time they'll say but we're not going to worry about it. It's very specific spellings. So we're going to give their major sound. Let's say these with me. R, and or, okay? Your best bet for is this. All the rest can say but this is your best bet. Okay? Best bet for R, best bet for or. Later we learn after a W, use a double R or an OR, right? You also learn that after, at the end of the word in a profession, after a T, like actor and doctor, we use an OR, and AR after an L, like seller or dollar. Okay? That's learned later. We also learn rebel R's, which are a tough thing. Rebel R's, silent E dominates the R family. That should be car, but it's care. That should be fur, but it's fire because of the silent E. Silent E dominates the R family. And then when you have a double R, it makes it short. This isn't sorry, it's sar. Sorry. This isn't hurry, it's harry. It isn't furry, it's fairy. And a vowel makes it short. Right after the R family. This isn't it's era, miracle, clerical. So silent E makes it long, double R or vowel makes it short. Diphthongs. Two letters that take an unexpected sound, and it's neither long nor short. Okay? They form circle sounds. Remember, these are line sounds. Your mouth forms lines. It, These form circles. Okay? The child knows that tails are at the end. They also have a mnemonic device. What's AUAW say? Aw. Down in the chest. Versus this, you go to a doctor, he looks at your mouth, you go, ah. This is aw. Two sounds for this. Ooh, ow, oi, or oi, whichever you want. Okay? So, those are our diphthongs. We have to learn, though, something. OW and AW should go at the end, but they go in front of three things, don't they? We have to learn they go in front of L, ER, and N. Like clown, like lawn, like crawl, or prowl, or flower. Okay? Those are our diphthongs. Notice we now have a Big Dipper and a crescent moon. We are building a vowel galaxy. Okay? Walkers. Walkers actually fit two vowels go walking. The what?
First.
First does the talking. So this one does the talking, says his name. E, A, O, U. Two vowels go walking. First does the talking. Okay? So, pretty simple. They walk on the green grass on top of the earth. Remember, this is the yellow and red iron ore in the earth. Green means go. These are automatic. They're fundamental sounds. Yellow, caution, they fit what you know about this basic chart and the greens, but there's something else. And red, stop, something doesn't fit. Okay? Long A. Again, we are reviewing the same pattern, okay? And following the 5 steps when we introduce it. However, if the students at start 3 or 4 at long A we don't do this formal presentation. We go right to their long vowel chart and dictate these words and others into their notebook. So we go right into that long vowel chart. Okay? Whereas students who are at Start 1 and 2, we do this formal presentation, and then a couple days later we'll be dictating in the chart, or the next day. Okay? All right, let's review the formal presentation. How many words are we going to read first? 3. We get across what sound we're dealing with, which is what? A. Then we look at, hey, there's different patterns. We have an A consonant, E, A, Y. That's what makes this difficult, long A's. Then we talk about, let's look at the most frequent patterns, and we read these words together. Then the students dictate the patterns, and I put them up in this order. We then go to the notebook and spell them, multi-syllable words. We do syllable spelling. And then I come back and discuss the pattern. Everybody, A is used in what kind of syllable?
Open.
Open, like baby. Radar. Lady. Just use an A if it's open. If you have a consonant sound after it, like same, you have to add a, or it's singing. If there's a consonant after it, like take, you have to add an E, or it's tap. And always has a what? Tail. So that's your best bet at the end. Okay? Because of the tail. And AI is the rest. It is the best before L or N, and that's something we have to memorize. Concept 15, long O. Again, now if we're a Start 1 or 2, we're going through this presentation. But if we are a Start 3 or 4, we now go right into their long vowel chart, and we're dictating these words following the steps. Okay? And those steps are this. If I dictate a word mellow, my question number 1 is what position is the O in? And the child would say final. Then I'd say, what do you have to use? They'd say OW, right? If the word is stove, I would say what position? They would say beginning middle. Can't be this, right? Then I'd say, well, is stove open, the O in stove, or is there a consonant after it? Stove. Use the accordion drill. Is it open, like in row, or is it stopped? Stove. It's stopped. There's a consonant after it, so it has to have an E. We write stove here. The word locate, let's take low. Is the vowel open in locate? Let's see if the vowel keeps going. Low, yeah. Accordion technique, it is open, so it goes under this column, okay? So we would be then dictating words, and they would be putting them under their column if they are a Start 3 or 4. A Start 1 and 2, again, we do the same procedures. How many words do we read? 3. Okay, once we've read the words, we get across that they all have a what in it? O sound. Then we point out that there's different patterns, okay? That's what makes spelling of O so tough. We then move to step 2, where we read the words. The child dictates the patterns. We go to the notebook, they write it, then we discuss the patterns. Everybody. Always used in what kind of syllable?
Open.
Like open. Like motor. Okay. O consonant E, we have to add an E in the word like rope, or it's what?
Rob.
When you're a consonant after hope, we have to add an E, or it's? And is easy, it has a what on it?
Tail.
Tail. So we know it's the OW. And this is the rest. Once we taught that to a Start 1 and 2, we would then go to the long vowel chart and dictate words like we do with Start 3 and 4. Okay? Now, you add other rest for the long vowels about 3 days later. In general, you can start adding the rest from the box around 3 days later. You may start adding words in the rest as soon as you feel it's needed. So you could right off the bat start adding some OA words you want the kids to memorize. And then later when you add OE, you can add some OE words. Kind old words. What word is this? Kid. What happens when I put this here? It becomes kind. These are called kind old words, and they fit the pattern of kind, or old, okay, or most. We call them actually most kind old words. That's a word family, and we work with those word families. We memorize them for reading and spelling. There's another word family we talked about earlier. What are those words called? Talking think words are other word families we can use. Again, we go to the spelling section of the notebook and work those for reading and spelling. Those are words I'll actually have parents work with. If they work with me, those word family words till the child has them. Okay? Concept 17, the basic vowel chart, or green review. Now, let me kind of clarify greens versus basic vowel chart, because that gets muddled. These are your greens here, and they're ghost sounds. They're straightforward sounds. When I'm reciting the greens, I'm reciting the only sounds that they're responsible for in the greens. But the basic vowel chart includes this and this. Okay? They're yellow because there's something that we're going to say that doesn't fit the basic vowel chart. They're caution there's something else. So when I recite this basic vowel chart, there's going to be something else that we're going to say later. That's why there's caution. Okay? Let's recite the basic vowel chart with me, everyone. It, o, ow, oi, r, or, e, both of these, a, o, u. That's the basic vowel chart. If you know this basic chart, you can read. Okay? Because these other sounds are a little more obscure. Okay? So, that is our chart. Now, at this point, I start having kids memorize this, where they can turn away from the board, look up, and recite it from memory. You can actually see it. We start this process at the basic vowel chart. Also at the basic vowel chart, we start speed of nonsense syllables. Remember, at speed of nonsense syllables, our goal is to get 10 seconds or less for 20 syllables. Okay? That's a goal. But, you know, again, we're just working on improvement. And we start our phrasing technique at this level. If the child is reading, sounding out words pretty accurately, about 95% accuracy, we move to phrasing. What questions do phrases answer? Who? What? Good. Where? When? Why? We found that teaching phrasing not only affects fluency, but comprehension. Okay? Concept 18, the yellows. Now the yellows fit what we know about the basic vowel chart, which is this. They fit what we know about this chart, but there's something else, okay? So, these yellows fit what you know about this chart. In other words, they say ah, we know that, but they have another sound. What sound does this say? Ow and oh. It's actually a walker sound. Remember the two vowels go walking, first does the talking? Because the vowels are A, E, I, O, U, sometimes Y and W. Ow and ooh. It actually looks like an ooh. Okay? E, great steak break. Never say the A sound. Actually, this is here. This says E, usually in multi-syllable words. I, usually in one-syllable word, and it. E, I, and it. And this says I. This is a walker, but it's 3 letters go walking. First does the talking, that's why it's yellow. Okay? Concept 19. Long I. This is a pretty simple concept, isn't it? Because we already know long I. So you either do the 5 steps, if the child's at start 1 and 2, or you go right to their long vowel chart and dictate long I words. Let's review the long I with me, everybody. When you hear I, you go what? I, consonant E, and Y are the best. IGH is the rest. That's what you know at this point. Again, you can start adding the rest, the IGH words, as needed. Okay? But at this point, you're going to be a little more systematical. CY change rule. We see the letter Y change, okay? But it also stands for consonant Y. If we have a consonant Y, like the word Sandy, if we have a consonant followed by a Y, there is one, we check it. And if there isn't an I suffix, we check it. 2 checks and we change the Y to I. Clumsier. Clumsy has a consonant followed by a Y. We check it. And there isn't an I suffix. We check it. We change the Y to I. Tribe. There is a consonant Y. We check it. And there isn't an I suffix. We check it. We change the Y to I. We don't change it here because of the vowel Y. Here we have an I suffix. We don't change it. Plurals for consonant Y. If you have a consonant Y and you make it plural, you change the Y to an I and you add ES, such as parties, candies. Toys, you have a vowel Y, so you just add the S. Concept 20, reds. Remember, red, stop. Something doesn't fit what you know about the basic vowel chart. Okay? Let's look at these first 2 reds, EI and EY. These 2 are walkers. If they're walkers, they fit 2 vowels, go walking, first does the talking. So what are these going to say?
E.
Mhm. They say the E sound. And if that's all they said, they would be green because they would be walkers, right? These are the sounds we want to make automatic. To be honest, if I have a child with a little lower cognitive skill, that's all I teach for this. And when I teach the E sound here, that's all I teach for that, for lower cognitive kids. Okay? Okay, so this has the E sound. The second sound is pretty much impossible to figure out. That's why it's red. However, you guys know this word. What word is E-I-G-H-T?
8.
What's EI saying there?
A.
This says A. And we're going to put these next to this as a remembrance that the second sound of this is A. Because this is within there. And this is EI and this is EI's brother or sister. Has the same sound. Or another way to look at it, this is EI with a tail on it. But both of them say E, and what's the second sound? A. Not a lot of words for A. We primarily are using that for some spelling words. Okay? So E and A. Again, when in doubt, if there's a problem with kid memory, focus only on the E sound. Okay? This says A. Okay? So, what 2 sounds does this have? E, A, and A. Let me introduce you to last walkers. Last walkers fit 2 vowels go walking. The last does the talking. Okay? So EU is going to say what? U. EW, W is simply a U with a tail on it. So that's going to say U. Or it's called a double U. It has the U sound. Or it's EU's brother or sister. No matter how you put it, these 2 have the same sound. They're last walkers. And this says E. And also I. But it's a last walker first. Okay? Now, very important. These 2, I want the child to automatically give the E sound for these first. And that's where I'm going to put my focus, is getting the E sound. We're going to make that automatic. We're not going to really focus on the A sound and I sound for these right off the bat. Just E. I want E automatic for both of these 2. And again, for kids having memory issues or cognitive issues, that's all I teach for these 2. And then later on, I might teach them spelling words for the other sounds. But I want this automatic and this automatic as E. Okay? Concept 21, long U. What do we use in an open syllable for long U? Just a U. If there's a consonant sound, we add an E, right? U consonant E. End has a what? Tail. Okay? And then we have the rest. So let us review the long U together. With me. U, U, consonant E, and EW are the best. EU, U, EU, I are the rest. Okay? They now know all the spellings of the vowels. Let's review all the spellings. I. I consonant E and Y are the best. IGH and IE are the rest. We can actually now start adding rest. These rest words like flight, okay? Rest words like pie, etc. under I. E. Everyone. E consonant E and Y are the best. EA, EE are the rest for multisyllables. EI, EY, and IE are the rest. So these rest we can now start adding words to. Now you could have earlier, but now if you haven't, you actually start adding rest words. In a one-tap word, this is your best and this is your best. A, with me. A consonant E, AY are the best. AI, EI, EY, and EIGH are the rest. U consonant E, EW are the best. EU, UE, UI are the rest. And again, now that the students know this, we can start adding rest words. Okay. O consonant E and OW are the best. OA and OE are the rest. For short vowels, I is spelled this, right? Best, rest. Best, and rest. This is it. But in an open syllable like above or alone or comma, or next to an M and or V, that's that scribal O, like love and done. Okay. Is this, but after a W sound like want or quantity, it's an A. Good. '22, soft C and G. Now, we've already taught soft C and G. This is a marker for kids in the first grade series, tells a youth, that there's a soft C and G book. So this is where you accent soft C and G with first graders. You might have mentioned before, but it's where you focus on it and teach the Superman rule. If you haven't taught the Superman rule by now, this is where you teach it. Okay? Superman has a real tough time when people say, hey Clark, sent, do you have your sit so you can fly in the sign? They don't understand that you can't put a C in front of ENT. That makes sense that we have to put a K in front of it to protect it. Remember we kind of have Superman do a K look? He's actually protects that K sound with a K in front of E, I, or Y, so it's Kent in the sky. That's the Superman rule.
Okay, so
Concept 23, silent letters. What's silent in this?
Okay.
And R, the W. These letters used to say sounds, but they're silent now. The ghost of departed sounds are still there. So we have to learn these. And the Mott book, page 69, has the most frequent words with silent letters. Let's get familiar with those. We also learn at this level the three sounds of CH. There is the Anglo-Saxon ch, the Greek k, and the French sh. If I give a word chaos to kids, it does play fair if I tell them it's Greek, because they know Greek is a CH. If I gave the word photo and I said it's Greek, it would play fair because they know it's a PH. Why CHs and PHs are used often in Greek words. The reason this is concept 24 is in the first grade program, the endings are not really gone into depth until this point. And there's a book called Vacation that they work in that has lots of ending. That's why I have this at 24. So let's look at rupt. What's one word we came up with?
Disrupt.
Disrupt. If you disrupt somebody, you kind of break into their conversation, don't you? Or if you disrupt a class, you break into the class. What's another word?
Corrupt.
If you're corrupt, what have you broken? You've broken laws, haven't you? Repetitively. What's another word? Disrupt. You break things up. How about this? What is interrupt? If you interrupt, what do?
Break into someone's.
Break things maybe into a conversation. How about erupt? What's happening with erupt? Yeah. Lava is breaking out of a volcano. So rupt means break or break up. Okay? Now we have the list of the most frequent rupt words in your handout, and we will use those for reading and spelling. You will now be responsible for these for reading and spelling. Concept 25. Here we're learning that when Rome fell in 476 AD and the Germanic tribes took over Europe, books were destroyed, etc. So that monks, in order to save the books, started copying them. And what they found was that it was difficult to read words where U's were next to M's, N's, or V's because of all the valleys and bumps. So they put a little mark over it, like I've done here. And that made it easier to read. And when Gutenberg developed the press in 1500s, he saw these marks as O's and kept them as O's. So they stayed spelled with an O, and they should have been a U. And we actually call them scribal O's. Scribe means write, to show that these are O's made by scribes. So some, which should be a U, has an O. The same with mother, that should be a U or an O. They're called scribal O's, and I have the most frequent ones of those in your notebook. Okay? We also teach the pictures, okay, for AIN, the mountain words, and we have a mental picture for that. We think of Captain Jack with a hat on, so we have a what? A captain, and he's eating what? Certs. Captain from a certain mountain. Got a what? We picture half price on the curtains. Got a bargain on curtains and fountains again. Again, a captain from a certain mountain got a bargain on curtains and fountains again. Now, when you're finished with my program, you have a couple options. If the child is behind grade level and is still not fluent, you segue to another series at a higher start. So you might decide that I'm now finished with Tales of Adventure. I'm going to move to Moonlight and do a start restart and go to French Quarter Phantom, review Open, Close, Silent E, and push through that series. Okay? Or, if you're through my program and the kid's pretty fluent, close to grade level and reading well, you segue into other books and do directed reading or word spotting, which I will be showing.